Alright, here we go. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Moondance, we have our Peruvian Protoss player representing Team TGCF. It is XionS. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Moondance, we have our Brazilian Protoss. He is pink, representing Eximius Gaming. It is DTWB. What does it stand for? I have no idea. Ay. Well, yes, this is not the first time we've casted him, but DTWB, he's more of an irregular player. He shows up once every couple of months, so it's really cool to see him returning once again. He's a great player in his own right, but more of an up-and-coming player. He's more of, like, kind of in the middle of the pack compared to the other players in the scene, you know? When I think of the top Protoss players in the region, I think Paco Mike, I think Master, I think XionS, maybe even Turkey Dano, maybe even Dastan and Cristiano. But outside of that, you know, like, there's a lot of players that are still, like, struggling to distinguish themselves. Whether it's players like Draconics or DTWB, they're still trying to break into that top pro scene of Latin America. And we'll see if that can be his first step here. You know, taking games and a series off of XionS, like, that's going to be a great step in that direction, if he can pull it off. As XionS is doing XionS things, he does this every PvP. It's coming back to me. XionS sneaks a pylon into the main base of DT. And our Brazilian Protoss, he doesn't see. He is none the wiser. So what I will say is that players like Paco Mike and Master, they immediately check the location of their own main because they know that XionS does this so much. But if you're a player who has a little bit less experience against XionS, then you may not know to check. And that's when I get worried. That's when I get a little bit scared. Because that pylon is now done. Warp Gate is on the way. As soon as Warp Gate finishes, we're going to have 2 Adepts warped into the main base of DTWB, and they could just end the game. Like, 2 Adepts are no joke. They one-shot probes. And if you take too long to respond, they can eviscerate your mineral line. It's not pretty. Oh god. So we'll see. As for the time being, we see a natural base here for DTWB. XionS went for 1 base play. He actually, again, he has a really weird way of walling where he just avoids the wall on the ramp. Looks like he does want to eventually expand here, and he does have enough minerals to do so. So there we go. Natural base gets thrown down. But I really am concerned here for DT. Like, I appreciate the scouting. He has a probe towards the north and the south. He's looking everywhere, and he finally does get eyes on the pylon. Oh my god. Thank god. So it looks like this pylon won't get out of control, but maybe something else will, as full stalkers are hitting the front line here of DTWB. The shield battery is under threat with the force field. It looks like 1 stalker goes down for the price of that 1 shield battery. Oof. And in the end, they both kind of trade a little bit with each other, but the Adepts actually finish warping in. Uh-oh. And this is going to force a lot of lost mine time. They get 1 probe in the end. They take down the Stalker as well that was weakened from earlier. A 2nd probe goes down. 3rd. 4th. 5th. Oh my god. Can we get 6? Can we get 7? Can we get 8? Okay, we're 7. 7 probes go down. And 1 Stalker. There was also 1 probe out of the map as well. Damage that was very worth it here for XionS, especially because he had a much later Nexus. Despite the fact that the pylon was scouted, DTWB could not stop it anyway. Or he did, but just took a little bit too long. And now we see a little bit of a divergence between our players. Robo on the way here for XionS. I mean, that's going to be for Immortal play, I imagine. Meanwhile, DTWB is focusing a lot more on just pure Blink Stalkers. Both players are going for Blink, don't get me wrong, but DT is going for a Forge as well for those upgrades for +1. So over time, his Stalkers will be stronger. They will be just straight up better than XionS's. But what XionS lacks in his Stalkers, he'll make up for, I imagine, in his army, in tech, in Immortals. If he goes to them. We'll see, we'll see. The player's just probing up again. DTWB trying to recover from his losses earlier. +1 attack is on the way. And XionS looks like he wants to take his pocket base. Interesting. I feel like this pocket base is more useful against Zerg players. I don't know how I feel about taking this in a PvP, especially because gases can be really important. Like, gases can be insanely important depending on the army composition you're going for, but I guess that's something we've yet to see from XionS. Like, I assumed that we were going to see more Immortal production, but no, he's going into a Forge. So he's going to be playing catch-up here with his own Stalkers. Meanwhile, he does bring it to the main base. It looks like he's going to be able to depower some of these gateways. Nice pickup here. And for this, he isn't going to be losing much at all. Oh my god. Oh my god. The blink control is insane. XionS doesn't lose a single Stalker, gets a pylon, gets a little bit more damage. Nothing too insane, but nonetheless is going to be keeping DTWB on the back foot. And I love this, by the way. Because of this aggression, DT can't take a third at the triangular or linear location. So he goes for a ninja. Oh my god. Ninja base is on the way towards the top right hand corner of the map, and this is going to be huge. At the same time, he's double expanding. Oh my god. And we'll see if he can get away with this. I mean, Moondance, you can defend on these 3 bases very easily. Like, it's so difficult. We saw it in Eon versus XionS, where Eon just couldn't really break through the natural ever. And likewise, it's the same for the other matchups as well. On the flip side of things, if XionS has map control, then he can just take a regular fourth. So economically, we can be pretty even. Especially because we're not getting a recall here towards the top right. Not yet, not yet. So it is going to take a while to saturate this base. More probes are on the way here. And yeah, we're getting into a pretty interesting, I say interesting. So both players are just going for mass gateway compositions. I think what's interesting to me is that we didn't see +2 prioritized. We saw +1 melee, and now we're getting +1 armor. Well, +1 attack, and now we're getting +1 armor for DT. It's a little bit odd, because now he's not going to have his +2 timing. It's an odd choice. He's going for a second forge, I guess, for double upgrades. This is pretty greedy, but I imagine he thinks he can be greedy because of this 4th base. He's getting shields? What? Okay. Interesting choice. We'll see if he lives long enough to actually make use of that, as here we go. XionS is on the front line here. He has a shield battery, sorry, a warp system behind this to continue to warp in. To continue to reinforce. It looks like DT just doesn't have the numbers right now. Another Stalker goes down. We do have an overcharge being popped, and that is going to buy DT a little bit of time. This is going to be enough. Charges done behind this as well. More Stalkers are falling left and right. Okay, there we go. +2's on the way. I was like, what is happening? The upgrades are going to be in favor of our Brazilian player if the game goes on long enough, but he's just losing Stalker after Stalker. Like, there's just so much firepower here for XionS. Zelts are doing what they can to try and buffer and try and soak up some damage. It looks like it's going to barely be enough here for DT to push him back and buy a little bit of breathing room, but it was only a little bit. As a reminder, as all this is happening, top right hand base is completely undetected. It is undeterred. And we'll see if he can hold on. I don't know if I'm convinced here. I mean, as the game goes on longer, we have 4 more gates on the way, by the way. So now DT can catch up in the production. That's something that he has been lacking for quite some time. That's why his army has just been straight up smaller than that of his opponents. He's working on more cannons, more shield batteries. And I think the biggest problem is that XionS doesn't know how desperate he should be being right now, how much he should try and break this location. He thinks he's further ahead than he is. He thinks that containing is fine because he's on 3 bases. When really, DT isn't. Not at all. Oh boy, we'll see if that economic advantage is going to be good enough. Another couple of units get picked off. More Zealots. I feel like maybe we're over-investing in Zealots here, but XionS is working off of 2 gases. Only 2 gases, mate. That's crazy. Oh my god, the Zealots, they just rush on forward. A second overcharge is going to be popped here. Stalkers are doing their best to try and focus on whatever they can. But it's not going to be enough. Oh god, with the warping of reinforcing Zealots, it looks like DT is going to be able to hold on. And XionS has to be scratching his head right now. Why can't I break you? What is happening right now? It looks like maybe he still can with the second wave. DT trying desperately to warp in more of these Zealots, and he's doing it. He has a better economy, he has more gases. XionS is kind of all in here. He can only really reinforce with pure Zealots, not with Stalkers. He just doesn't have the gas for it. God, and now the upgrades are heavily in favor of DT, working on +2 armor instead of +3 attack. He's crazy. Oh god, and with a handful more warpins, it looks like it may be enough. We had a couple of Stalkers reinforced, but there is the 3rd overcharge of the fight. And XionS, he just can't break through. The War Prism goes down. Oh no, one more. Wow, the War Prism somehow survives. And DT 100% overextended, by the way. He dove way too far, way too deep for that Prism. Especially for not getting it. Boys are now forced off the line. The probe count falling in favor of XionS. The Immortal comes out. Ah! We had a warping at home? I guess XionS is a little bit scared of losing his Prism. Yo, XionS, he can still do this. He now has a supply lead. I can't believe it. Oh my god. DT was so close to holding, by the way. He was so close, but like pushing out and trying to take down the Prism was a little bit questionable. XionS even makes a backup Prism just in case. And Stalker Zealot apparently with +2 is all you need. It barely overwhelms. War Prism goes down, but we had another one behind that. It's okay, it's okay. And DT's been broken. XionS, he's never gonna know about the top right-hand base. I guess it never mattered. Guess it never mattered because XionS had his own 4th. He got his own 5th behind it. Didn't even care, mate. Didn't even care. Oh. And with that, GG gets called. XionS takes game number 1. Wow. Jesus Christ. There was a moment there where I wanted to believe that DTWB would defend. Like, I wanted to believe, mate. It looked so good for him. He had the cannons, he had shield batteries, he had his 3rd overcharge. Just got a little bit too antsy. A little bit. And yeah, with that, he's going to take a lead in this series. But just a lead, you know, it is a best of 3. We have at least one more game ahead of us. And again, that game was pretty close, to be honest. Like, there's a world where maybe DT is able to defend. Maybe he is able to hold on. So close. So close. Oh. We'll see if he can pull it off here in the end. Can we go all the way to the ace match? As all this has been happening, it looks like we have our first semis ready. pretty expected, to be honest. It is going to be the Zerglord versus Master. Brazil showing up hard today. Brazilian on Brazilian action going on down there. So we're going to dive into that series next, as soon as we finish up with XionS versus DT. Oh boy. I'm actually going to message. All right. Cool. I'm just confirming with Darking, our lovely admin for today's tournament, if I should go into the semis first or if it can wait. And looks like he's giving me the green light that that we can finish our series. Oh my god, and what the hell were our vetoes? We've been getting some pretty interesting vetoes, not gonna lie. It looks like our next game is going to be on Waterfall. Oh boy. I'm also trying to see where Chavi is from, because it's also been a while. It's been a while since I've casted him as well. Is he from Costa Rica? I know Carlos is. Oh, he's from Peru. Oh, okay. Makes sense. Peru and Brazil, literally the only two nations remaining in this tournament. Yo, I just realized exclamation mark Funada, not just Davo, but Paco Mike, Jim Rising is missing as well. I mean, Jim Rising has been casting a lot of League of Legends recently, to be fair, but come on, at least Paco Mike. What's happening? Well, we'll see what's happening as we are now getting into game number 2 and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Waterfall. We have our Peruvian Protoss player representing Team TGCF. It is XionS. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Waterfall, we have our Brazilian Protoss. He is pink, representing Eximius Gaming. It is DTWB. That was a pretty intense game number 1. Again, like, god, it looked so close. It looked like DT was gonna be able to defend with his upgraded advantage. He had 2-1-1 against the +2 of XionS. He had the defender's advantage, he had the shield batteries, but it just barely wasn't enough in the end. Just barely. And now, because of that, we're getting into our second game. Also, not gonna lie, I apologize if I sound a little bit groggy. I've noticed myself that I've been slurring some of my words a little bit. Look, I can assure you I'm not drunk, okay? Oh god, it's just early in the morning, and I may not have slept too much today, to be honest. I may have gone to bed a little bit late, so I'm trying to wake up. Okay, I'm trying. Hashtag not a degen. Hashtag not a degen. But here we go. We're getting into our second game. And once again, XionS doing XionS things. It's something that he does, and it's not very good, but he does it anyway. Notice his first pylon placement. Notice his gateways as well. The standard thing to do is to throw down your 2 gateways and to wall off here on top of the ramp, and this will protect you against adept openers because you can wall off pretty easily. XionS does things a little bit differently. He puts them closer back home, next to his natural, and the reason why he does this is to protect his gateways. In case there's like a proxy immortal or proxy stargate, his production is safer compared to being a little bit more exposed on the ramp. So it's a little bit of a give and take. He's safer against proxies and he's safer against cheese, but he also lacks a wall as well. I mean, he scouts across the map and he confirms there is no proxy, so he doesn't have to focus on a wall. He should also be confirming the first units coming out, and it looks like DT is going for a Stalker Sentry opener as opposed to the double Stalker opener of XionS. Oh, sorry, double Adept opener of XionS, as the Adepts are here and the Adepts are going to go in. Up, up, and there is no wall. The Adepts do get on in. We almost get surrounded by those workers, but the workers are not what you want to fight against these Adepts. 2 probes go down. 3, 4, 5. Oh. 5 probes go down. Can he get the... He gets the sentry as well. XionS doing an insane amount of damage with 6. 7? Nah. 6 probes and a sentry is insane. Well worth it here for 2 Adepts. And 2 Stalkers are coming in behind this. DT has to be careful. He has to warp in another wave of Stalkers now before he gets overwhelmed. And XionS, I noticed this earlier, Dark Shrine is on the way. He went for a very quick Twilight Council, insanely quick, and it clearly wasn't for Blink. Oh boy. We've seen it before, we could see it again. I'm looking at the vision of XionS. He confirmed that it was a Twilight Council opener from DT. And speaking of DT, DT's required detection to be dealt with. We don't have a Stargate, we don't have a Robo, don't have a Forge. If 2 or 3 DTs waddle in, it straight up ends the game. It's disgusting like that. I don't think it's the best part of StarCraft. It is a part of strategy and it abuses the lack of scouting knowledge, to be honest, to be fair. You know, DT does have sentries. We should be seeing a hallucination scout. There is no reason not to have one. Without a halluc scout, we're not going to see anything and we're not going to be prepared. Meanwhile, DT, because of all that economic damage that was dealt earlier, he still doesn't have his Blink. Despite getting a fast Twilight Council, there we go, Blink finally starts after that of XionS. So DT is really struggling to recover. It took him a while to resaturate his gases and to try and get what he needed. But the first wave of DTs are here. Forge is on the way. That's cool. But GG. GG, well played. There was no detection, no Robo, no Stargate. XionS wins the games with DTs. GG, well played. My condolences to DTWB. My condolences. I'm ready for... my condolences. Like, he put up a really good showing in the first game. I was very impressed with how he played game number 1. Game number 2, it's just unlucky. It's just like, yeah, I say unlucky. He had 2 sentries. He needed to send a hallucination across the map. So you could argue that it's on him for not scouting. And he had the sentries, right? Like, he had the tools available to him. But I guess he was a little bit scared. Maybe he just forgot about a scout at that time. And it's one of those things where even if you scout with a Phoenix, there are times where the Dark Shrine is proxied, so you still don't know that there is a Dark Shrine on the map, and you still die anyway. Like, it's yeah. It's just one of those things in PvP. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But congratulations to XionS. He moves on to the semifinals, and he's going to be looking to face Chavi in the next round. But before that happens, we have our first semifinals match.